Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. When people see a finished garden, they often do not take into account the months, and let's just be honest, years of hard work and planning and problem solving and all the work that goes into creating a beautiful space. And as 2025 has come to an end, I wanted to take a moment and just kind of walk down memory lane with you to look back at the messes, the successes, the wins, the trips, the memories, all of the things that made 2025 what it was. We're going to go back and take a look at the whole year as a whole. Now that we are going into 2026, I did want to take a moment just to go back and look at 2025. We're going to go through kind of month by month and look to see all the events that happened that really shaped the history of Creekside for 2025. So I hope this is a lot of fun for you because most of you were with us during each of these single moments. And so it's just a great time to go back and look and reflect upon the year. So as January approached last year, this is the season, the month that we do a lot of planning and prep, and we're powering back up to have a great successful year. So of course, January here at Creekside is marked by a lot of production and laying the groundwork that is not maybe the most glamorous or the most fun. So we shared a lot of our top annuals, perennials, and shrubs with you. We're gearing up for a great growing season. And so we were sharing all of our tips with some great plants that we knew would be great successes in your garden. Also, so exciting. Christmas may have already come and gone, but in January, this is when the first baby plants arrived here at the nursery. We got a fresh new delivery of some perennials, and then the first proven winter annuals for 2025 arrived. And it is always such an exciting time for not only myself, but our staff to see these sweet babies return to Creekside because we know what the beauty is ahead for us. And then, of course, here at the house, y'all, there's always a project going on. So in January of 2025 was when we went ahead and buried the massive 1,000-gallon propane tank in the backyard that would power our whole house generator. And as in true Jackson fashion, he was the one that came in and helped save the day to get that huge tank into the ground nice and safely. So lots of winter prep and great, exciting, fun times thinking about the plants that were going to be planted in the garden in 2025. And then we moved on into February. February, of course, is still marks a lot of production, but the garden center opens. That's right. So the garden center opens typically in mid-February each year. This year was no different. However, I will say it was a successful day, but it was an absolutely nasty day. It was in the low 30s and raining. So all of you sweet people that came out to the garden center on opening day, bless your heart. Thank you so much because it was miserable as far as the weather, but it was a great successful day at the garden center because of you sweet folks. This is also February is a huge time for us to go ahead and continue with that production. So this is when we make all of our hanging baskets with all those beautiful super petunias and super bells. At the garden center, that is when we had the new fence installed that would separate the shrub lot and the parking lot to give us some structure in that space. We also introduced the new proven winter shrubs for 2025 to you to get you nice and excited for the things that were to come. Of course, as always, the education component of Gardening with Creekside. Lots of pruning tips and content on how to prepare your gardens for a successful spring and summer. And then as always, those sweet little proven winter annuals, man, they just kept rolling in, and we had a gorgeous supply of those great proven winter annuals. And then it's rare, but it happened. We had a snow day. That is right. We actually got some snow in February. Of course, in true North Carolina fashion, it doesn't last very long, but we did enjoy the beautiful snow as it came down and while it was here. And then we moved on into March. March, you start to see signs of spring. That is the beautiful thing about being in the South, is that spring arrives early. This is a season of transition for us because, of course, you still have those kind of cold, wintry days, but those signs of spring, they are coming to life. This is when I share with you how to take care of your roses, right? So we go through that late winter rose care, the pruning, the fertilizing. Again, getting these plants off to a successful start in the spring and the summer. Planted a bunch of Japanese maples from my friends at Mr. Maple. So we got those in the ground. The greenhouses were filling up fast. Production was in full gear. We were starting to burst at the seams, starting to run out of some room with those sweet plants that were waiting to go home with you. And then the tulips started blooming. That's why I love planting early to mid-season bloomers with my tulips. And so they were blooming. We took a tulip tour together, and then I actually began planting some of those early spring annuals in the signature garden. So this is when you start to see winter kind of letting go and the spring creeping in. It is a fabulous time to be a gardener. And then April. The theme of April is plant, 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 plant. That is right. It is a huge month for us here at Creekside Nursery, both either at the signature garden or here at the house. We have got to get those summer annuals in the ground before the heat of the summer hits. So we had major spring planting all across all the gardens. We have found that the most success we have with our supertunias in the ground and the landscape is to plant them early. They can absolutely handle those cooler temperatures, even those little bit of frost. So in the early April, we can get those in the ground and they thrive and will do really well for us until the massive heat of the summer hits. And then we even hosted a Power Planter workshop. Our sweet friend, Mr. Greg Newald, who owns Power Planter, of course, he came down from Illinois, had a workshop for us in the signature garden. So folks came and were able to get a hands-on demonstration. We also filmed it, so those folks that were not able to come to the garden center did not miss anything. So as always, we love having Greg here at the garden center. But April, definitely, it is a controlled chaos. That is a great, accurate description of the month of April for us because it's long days of planting, but I mean, it's long days in the garden. You can't complain about that now, can you? And then we go into May. May is when we really are officially, those cooler temperatures are gone. And this is where the color, the creativity, the connection with you folks that come to the garden center, because this is when things are hopping. It is just a beautiful time to be here at Creekside. We had over 500 annuals that we planted in the signature garden for those summer flower beds. We created that brand new woodland garden at the signature garden along the hill that Jackson had cleared out for us earlier in the year. So we had that beautiful woodland garden. We continued with a lot of those pruning. So not pruning, excuse me, those summer plantings. So any of those annuals that we hadn't had gotten in the ground already, we go ahead and get those in. Lots of garden tours because everything is looking fresh and beautiful in North Carolina in May. And then, of course, one of my favorite things to do is we planted the deck boxes. That's right. So all of the summer annuals that went into the deck boxes is such a fun project for me to do each year. Love that. So this is where in May, all of that hard work of January, February, March, April, May is when you're starting to see those sweet rewards in the garden. And then in June, June is just a great season for a lot of that beautiful impact in the garden is really filling in. And we had workshops and talking about how do you support the monarch butterfly population in your garden. So what are some plants that you can put in? Of course, we visited Mimi's Monarch Way Station to give not only you but myself some ideas on how to create that monarch garden. Planted one in the cottage garden, which was a fun project for me this past year. And then we also planted the new garden boxes that are up in the cottage garden up kind of near Hydrangea Hill, filled those with tons of beautiful proven winter flowering annuals because I wanted to create a big, huge, massive impact because, of course, we hosted our second annual signature experience, and I wanted those garden boxes to look phenomenal, and they certainly did. Before the signature experience happened, we had one last hurrah as a family. We took our annual family beach trip down to Pawleys Island. We actually filmed a video for you at I think it was our last night there. Jerry and I did a little beachside chat, but we do enjoy our time at Pawleys Island. It is a great time for our family to unplug and reconnect and just absolutely relax after the season that has just come before us. We solved some drainage problems at the chicken coop because we were having standing water. So Jerry got the machinery out and we got the all of that kind of cleared up. Then we hosted the biggest garden tour we have ever done on YouTube. So we filmed the largest garden tour. I think we were completely comprehensive and took in like all of the gardens. It was a beautiful garden tour because that was right before the signature experience. We hosted folks from not only all over the United States, but from Canada as well. So we had a beautiful group of folks who came and spent the day with us at the end of June for that signature experience. It was a massive success, and we had the most fun hanging out with those folks there at the end of June. And then July. July brings, this is when the heat really begins to kick in. So July is marked with heat, helping you make sure that your garden survives the heat and humidity. And then for us, July is a really big travel month. So Jerry and I take a lot of business related trips in July. Thankfully, a lot of times it is to some cooler areas, but somehow we always seem to bring the North Carolina weather with us wherever we go. But that's all right. It is still fun to get out of here and go see some other gardens. We, of course, were sharing those tips with you on how to make your garden survive and thrive during the heat of the summer. Part of that was that we added irrigation to the two large urns that are on either side of the entrance gate. Of course, we took a beautiful signature garden tour so you could see what it looks like in July. And then Jerry and I, one of our first trip was we went to the horticultural show Cultivate that is in Columbus, Ohio. We've gone for the past couple of years, love going there. It is like the largest horticultural vendor show in the country, and so we get to connect with folks, look at some new products, look at new plants that are being introduced. So we went there. And then right on the heels of that, we did turn around and go visit our friends at Spring Meadow Nursery. Of course, that is the home to the Proven Winners Color Choice shrubs. We love going to Spring Meadow. We got to see all of the new shrub introductions for 2026, which we just released with you. And we got to take a great garden tour of the trial gardens at Spring Meadow with two of my favorite humans on the earth, Dr. Judson LeCompte and Megan Matai. So that was really fun to walk through the gardens and see the gardens from a completely different perspective, not just a gardener's perspective, but from a breeder's perspective. And that was a very popular video. Y'all loved it as much as we did. And then Jerry and I turned around yet again, and then we went up to Pleasant View Gardens in Loudon, New Hampshire, where we get all of our Proven Winner annuals. So July was a very busy month of lots of travel, but we got to see lots of old friends and lots of beautiful plants. And then we were moving into August, my friends. August was an interesting month, of course, marked with tons of heat and humidity, as all August in the South are. And so that is when we introduced to you the front yard renovation. So we had come up with some great plans on how to completely renovate our front yard. Of course, you know that was the brainchild of my husband, but it served me quite well and we had a ton of fun with it. Also, on a sad note, as far as the gardening world goes, that is when I discovered that I had rosette disease in the backyard. Yes, 3 of my roses, well, really 2 of them were affected. 1 was not, but it was right there in close proximity. So I went ahead and made the hard decision and removed them. So I shared with you how, what rosette is, how to identify it, and then what you do to take care of that. Also, I'm telling you, August is when, if things are going to go wrong in the garden, this is about when it happens. So of course I have an El Nino Chatalpa up at the chicken coop, and it is a host plant for a caterpillar, and the caterpillars had found it in mass. I had hundreds of caterpillars completely devouring my El Nino. And while I do appreciate a good caterpillar, I don't want them completely devouring my ornamental flowers and shrubs. So took care of that. I shared with you what that was and how to naturally, organically take care of them. The tree recovered just fine, thank goodness. We also went, in part of this project, we went to go visit one of our local nurseries. That's right, we shop at other nurseries as well. So we made a trip across town to go visit our friends at Stowe Nursery, got some beautiful shrubs. So we got some different ornamental trees that we were adding to the landscape. And then, of course, the whole driveway demo for this whole project occurred. So where we completely destroyed our driveway to put in and fix the drainage that was there, because water is always an issue here at Creekside. So we got that taken care of. And but yeah, it was a mess there for a while. Heavy equipment, digging ditches, putting in drains, you name it, it was happening. So this is, August is that month where we just are living real life with you folks. We share the messes and the successes, and knowing that it ultimately all works for the good of the garden. And then in September, September is where you start to get just a hint of fall, maybe a hint of some cooler days. And this is where we're starting to have a little bit of some payoff, that you start to get a new fresh outlook on life in the garden, because you can actually breathe and not sweat to death all the time when you're out in the garden. So in September, this is when we added our very first butterfly candy buddleias, butterfly bushes, to the garden. We're wildly impressed with how they took to the landscape immediately, how quickly the butterflies found it, and how they performed in the garden. So we were super excited to add those butterfly candies to the yard. We began doing fall plantings. So we were switching out some of the summer annuals and putting in those pansies and those violas, and even like with shrubs, right? Because we're going into fall, and fall is the perfect time to be adding those plants to the garden. So we did camellias and sweet osmanthus. That was just the beginning of quite a few of the fall plantings that happened. We continued, of course, the whole front yard renovation. We were planting the evergreens, working on amending our soil, all of those kind of beginning to have some fun by putting the plants in the ground, but then also, you know, amending the soil and making sure that the drainage and everything was correct. All the sidewalks, the pathway got in, all of the stonework was going in. And then my boys were very happy, because that is when we got the new cat excavator. That is right. So we got a new excavator. They loved it. Of course, Jackson was probably more thrilled than Jerry, because he loves operating the excavator and he is really, really good at it. So again, works for my favor when my boys have the equipment that they need to get the projects done. And then we wrapped up September with wrapping up this project. So the front yard renovation was completely done. All the plants were in. Everything, the infrastructure was in. It turned out beautiful, and we could not be more happy with how that front porch renovation turned out. And then in October, so October is, again, it is that time where fall just continues to come. Those cooler temperatures begin to kind of arrive, and they stay for a little bit longer. You still have those warm days, but it is a beautiful month here in North Carolina. And this is where we kind of have a little bit of a reset mindset. we get renewed again with those cool temperatures, and the fall plantings are in full force. So all of the annuals start to go in that I do. And every year I tell y'all this, like in the summertime, I'm like, I'm not planting any violas and pansies. I'm not going to do it. I don't want to take care of anything. And then that first arrival of those sweet little friends come in, and I'm like, oh, and I want to plant them all. It is garden fever. That is a beautiful and a pain all at the same time, because I'm tired, but yet it renews me when I see those fresh fall annuals come into the garden center. Starting that fall cleanup right in the garden. So some of those summer annuals, it's time to come out. So it's time to maybe trim up and clean up some of those perennials, just to take care of the gardens, to help them all be for a great success in the spring. Planted our fall vegetable garden up in the garden boxes. So I did multiple crops for fall veggies. Started them directly by seed. So I did some carrots and some radishes, and we did garlic, and we did kale and all sorts of great things. Had my first harvest later on in the month with those radishes. That's why I love radishes. They're such a quick turnaround. Had a lot of fun with that. Then Jerry yet came up with another idea that which we had talked about this together, about renovating the creek bed garden at the Signature Garden. So we ripped out a ton of plants. We amended the soil. We went ahead and filled it all the way back up with gorgeous new shrubs. We put in irrigation because that was part of the problem. Those plants were not getting the water and the nutrition that they needed. So that whole creek bed got a complete renovation with brand new shrubs, brand new infrastructure, and brand new soil. And then we announced that we were now carrying the shrubs from Southern Living Plant Collection. So really fun expansion for the online store. So we have a great selection of those Southern Living Plant Collections shrubs available online. And then we're moving into November. So November was a very exciting month. There was kind of growth around every corner in November. So we continued, of course, with the fall plantings, because again, I just repeat this over and over again. If I'm going to plant shrubs and trees in the South, then the fall is the best time to do it. So the fall can be anywhere from September really in through December and into January. So adding hydrangeas, adding tons of camellias. I am a Southerner gardener after all, so I've got to have my camellias, more osmanthus, just a ton of different plants going into the garden. Came up with another project that we announced to you as far as expanding the gardens up at the entrance to the nursery all around our mailbox. So we're moving the mailbox. We're going to be creating a whole new bed. So we announced that project to you. And then probably the biggest thing, maybe even of the year, is that we launched our own plant brand, Creekside Champions. This is something that Jerry and I have dreamed of for years, where we can offer those perennials, shrubs, annuals to you, that these are plants that do not get a lot of attention, but are absolute champions in the garden. They have proven themselves time and time again in our gardens to be great plants. And so the Creekside Champions are those annuals, perennials, and the shrubs will be coming, they're not this year, that help your garden grow, bloom, and thrive, because that is what we want for you, both in your garden and in your personal life. We took a trip to Alabama. We went down to one of a conference with Plant Development Services. Those are the folks of Southern Living Plant Collection, Encore Azaleas, Butterfly Candy. Went down there, got to go to see, oh my gosh, Lower Alabama. It is absolutely gorgeous. We were staying right there on the Gulf at the Grand Hotel. Had an absolute marvelous time, I'm telling you. Or maybe I shouldn't tell you, that is like one of the best kept secrets. That area of Fairhope and Point Clear, Alabama. Oh my gosh, it is gorgeous. The people are lovely and precious, and the food is to die for. So if you ever find yourself in that area, make sure that you spend some time. You'll thoroughly enjoy it, I have no doubt. November, of course, is my birthday month, so I celebrated my birthday planting some beautiful aspidistra in the garden that my mama gave me for my birthday, and then just that huge emphasis on planting, 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 because fall is planting time in the South. And then yet another project. Have you sensed the theme here is like projects, projects, projects? Yes, tons of projects here at Creekside. We announced the expansion of the barn. So Jerry was working on that to give us more retail space, more storage space at the garden center through the barn. And so we're almost doubling the size of the retail space with this barn expansion. And then we come to December, the last month of the year. This is when part of the nursery really begins to slow down and part of the nursery begins to crank up. So we begin to slow down in the fact of things at the garden center begin to slow down a little bit, right? Because we're focusing on the holidays. The temperatures are getting much cooler. And so the garden center is not as busy. In fact, we did end up, the garden center of course closes in December. So we wrapped up that great 2025 season at the garden center right before Christmas. Had a fantastic day. Lots of sweet folks came out to come and see us. We also kind of introduced and wrapped up all at the same time in December, of course, that loading dock at production. So we had a new dock installed. It was a feat, but our friends at Carolina Landscaping, they handled it like champions and got that dock installed for us. So it will make our life so much easier going into this year and this production season. Of course, we continued fall cleanups into the garden and more garden planting. We shared our holiday gift guide with you, and tulips arrived. So we plant our tulips in December here in North Carolina. We got over 5,000 tulips planted. It's going to be a gorgeous spring this year. And then we introduced the Proven Winner Color Choice shrubs for 2026. So it has been an absolutely great successful year here at Creekside. It is sometimes, Jerry and I look around and it is hard to believe that the nursery is what it is, because we started this nursery, the two of us by ourselves, 20 years ago, and it has come a long way. There's been a lot of blood, sweat, and yes, y'all, tears that have been poured in to this nursery and this business, but we could not do without you. Whether you have been a long-time customer of ours when we very first started at the farmer's market, or you came and you stopped by you're on a family vacation and you made a detour in your trip to come see us at the garden center, if you shop at the garden center, or if you shop the online store and we ship plants to you and garden products to you, whether you are not able to come see us physically, but you are with us in spirit and with us with these videos, whatever part of the Creekside family you play, we are incredibly, incredibly grateful for you. And we obviously would not have this business without you. So however it is that you support Creekside Nursery, we are incredibly thankful for you. And it is not lost that you spend your time and your energy and your money to help support not only our family, but also the families of our employees here at Creekside. So again, it has been a great year. It was a fun year. Yes, there were moments of stress. There always are, right? But you get through those with the support of you folks. Our amazing staff that we have here at Creekside could not do this literally at all without them. We have the best staff ever, and we are very grateful for them. But yeah, we are excited about 2026. We have some fun things headed your way in 2026. Jerry and I have been brainstorming with our team about things that we can offer you, thinking about like here at the nursery, of course, online, gorgeous new plants, new introductions, all sorts of fun things that we want to bring to you in the year of 2026. So it is our prayer that you have a fantastic year ahead of you. Stay and protect your peace, right? So there ain't no time for drama. That's what I tell my people. I have no time for drama. You have no time for drama in your life, right? We show grace in the garden and we show grace to each other in life. And that is our prayer for you, that you have a great, wonderful year filled with grace. Savor those moments. It is going to be a good year and we cannot wait to share it with you. Y'all have a great day. If you haven't subscribed, we would love it if you would subscribe. That way you don't miss all the craziness that happens here in the coming year of 2026. As always, we love you. We'll see you in the next video, so sweet friends. Bye.